Texas All Lines Adjuster Exam accumulated depreciation total decrease in an item's value over a period of time. Formula: annual depreciation x number of years used. Acreage reporting dative deadline for providing the insurer with an acreage report, which is used to determine the amount of coverage needed and the premium charged for a particular crop. Guarantees a percentage of the insured farm's average revenue. Adjuster, an agent who, for compensation, processes insurance claims, can represent either the insured or the insurer. Also called fee adjuster, bureau adjuster, adjuster, publican adjuster who is hired to represent the claimant and help determine a fair indemnification, usually specializes in appraisals and negotiation. Paid commission, usually a percentage of final settlement. Agency authority, apparent authority that an agent possesses based on the appearance of representing the insurer, which denotes the total amount the insurer will pay per occurrence. Agreement: one of the four requirements of a legally binding contract. All parties involved must agree to the terms of the contract. Can also refer to a binder, which is the preliminary substance of a contract. Agricultural producer, a business that grows, harvests, and sells crops for profit. Aleatoria, characteristic of an insurance contract, means depending on an unknown future event. Accept the complaint with a right to insert evidence into the case. Annual depreciation and items replacement cost divided by the number of years in its expected lifespan. Appraise, a negotiation method which allows the claimant and the insurer each to select an appraiser. The two appraisers in turn select an umpire. The appraisers then work together to determine a settlement amount. If they cannot agree, the umpire steps in. Agreement by any two of the three is binding. Arbitration, a negotiation method in which the opposing parties each submit their evidence to a mutually agreed upon and neutral third party called an arbitrator. The arbitrator reviews the positions of each opposing side and makes a final and legally binding decision. Arbitrator, mutually agreed upon and neutral third party in an arbitration who reviews the positions of each opposing side and makes a final and legally binding decision. Auto policy, insurance policy designed to protect the policyholder while owning, occupying, or operating a vehicle. Usually combines liability coverage and property coverage into one policy. No-fault laws also restrict the insured's right to sue the at-fault party. Aviation insurance combines hull insurance for the aircraft and liability insurance for any damage to others' property or to people who are not passengers. Bailey, an individual or company that receives the property of someone else for a special purpose and returns the product after use. BAPTI, business auto policy provides property damage and liability insurance for automobiles used by a business. Bond, a contract wherein one party guarantees the performance of a third party. Bonds involve three parties. 1. The surety agrees to pay the second party. 2. The obligee. If the third party, 3. The principal, neglects to carry out an obligation it has to the obligee. Breach of product warranty, failure or falsehood of a stated promise of a product stipulation. Business, personal property, movable property used for business. CLA, commercial general liability policy, protects businesses against damages and injuries to third parties. Civil law observes court cases of one citizen charging another citizen for damages caused by tort. It differs from criminal law. Claim, the offer of settlement that the policyholder files with an insurer after she experiences a loss. Claims made form a liability policy in which the insurer pays only those claims arising during the policy period as opposed to those claims arising after the policy period is over, regardless of whether the incident took place during the policy period. Claims management, the practice of the insurance adjuster of managing a claim by processing it in a prompt and effective manner from the time the claim is filed until a settlement is reached, while adhering to all local and federal laws. Claimant, Tony, who files a claim with an insurer for a loss. Claude, the clueless adjuster. In this course, Claude, the clueless adjuster, represents an incompetent or unprofessional adjuster. These standards may also be formally codified with statutes. Coercion, the practice of forcing another party to behave in an involuntary manner, whether through action or inaction, by use of threats or intimidation or some other form of pressure or force. Commercial, exchange or transport of goods or property. Commercial, having to do with commerce or business activity in general. Example include business owner's policy, commercial property, commercial general liability, workers' compensation, professional liability D&O, errors and omissions E&O, and employment-related practices liability. Commercial property flotera means of protecting a business property that is not in one fixed location. Complaint to complaint initiates a civil lawsuit by a claimant requesting financial relief from damages caused by a policyholder. Consummate the act of withholding relevant material facts from an insurer. Conditions the section of a policy that qualifies or limits an insurer's promise to pay or perform. Consideration of the four qualifications of a legally binding contract. All parties must bring something of value to the contract. Contracting agreement entered into voluntarily by two parties or more with the intention of creating a legal obligation. Coverage as the amount and extent of protection provided by an insurance policy, criminal offense against the state or federal government, or a breach of law for which the offender shall make satisfaction to the public. Criminal someone who has been convicted of a criminal act in a court of law. Crop hail insurance, a form of crop yield insurance that is usually provided by private insurers without government subsidy. It offers named peril protection on an acreage basis. Crop insurance coverage designed to protect a farmer's financial investment in his or her crops. Covers losses to a crop's profitability. Crop revenue insurance, a crop insurance that combines crop yield insurance and price insurance to protect against losses to crop value. Crop yield insurance, a crop insurance that covers physical losses to actual crops. Damages, general lentible losses such as pain and suffering or mental anguish. Damages, special tangible, financial losses that can be documented. Dangerous instrumentality doctrine states that anyone involved in the use of inherently dangerous products or machines is held 100% liable for their own damages. Dec page, so-called the declarations page. First page of a policy which provides a summary of the contract. Includes names of insured, addresses, coverage limits, policy period, etc. Declined coverage takes place when an insurance company rejects an application for coverage. Deductible, the amount the policyholder must pay out of pocket before the insurance company will pay the remaining costs. Deductible, fixed deductible is one specific, predetermined amount that a policyholder must pay out of pocket before he can be indemnified. Defamation, damage to another's name or reputation, whether by libel, which is in print, or by slander, which is in speech. Default judgment is entered by the court against the party who failed to defend against a claim brought on by another party. In other words, if the person fails to show up and answer the claim, the court will find in favor of the other party. Definitions page in policy that gives specific limited meaning to terms used in policy. Depreciation, a decline in value of property caused by wear or loss of usefulness, usually measured by a specific formula. Direct loss, physical harm to tangible property caused by a peril. Discoverable of being demanded and handed over as evidence in a court of law. During litigation proceedings, the adjuster's claims file is discoverable. Final adjustment of a loss, abandonment of a crop, or a date predesignated by crop type. Endorsement as an optional provision that can be added to a policy to increase, reduce, or modify coverage for specific property types or perils. Errors and omissions liability insurance that indemnifies professionals for errors or oversights on the part of the insured that cause harm to their clients. Estapel, a legal principle that bars a party from asserting something contrary to what has been implied by his previous actions or statements. Ethicalidring, to moral laws and to principles of fairness. Evaluating, determining the approximate value of damages relevant to a claim that is total of medical bills, costs of repair and replacement of damaged property, and the consideration of the financial provisions of the insurance policy. Exclusion section of an insurance policy that reduces coverage by listing specific individuals, property, or perils that are not covered by the policy. Exposure is the extent to which an item is open to damage or loss. More exposure means a loss is more likely. Fair credit reporting, federal legislation that gives an applicant for insurance the right to investigate the reasons his insurance application was denied. Fall down case, a lawsuit brought against a property owner by someone who has fallen down on the property. False advertising, present something in a deceptive or untrue manner to the consumer. Misrepresentations and advertisements. Farm, a property where a farmer or rancher both resides and conducts commercial business. Farm liability coverage form added to a farm insurance policy that provides coverage for injury and damage to a third party. Federal Crop Insurance Act legislation passed by Congress that established the Federal Crop Insurance Program. Federal Crop Insurance Corporation (FCIC), a government-owned corporation that manages the Federal Crop Insurance Program. Final planting dative, last day to plant crops in order to receive the full insurance yield and/or revenue guarantee selected. First named insured, the first person or entity named as insured on the declarations page of a policy. Flow-terra, term for inland marine policies that cover mobile property. Flood and overflow of inland or tidal waters, an unusual or rapid accumulation of runoff or surface waters from any source. Mud flows, collapse or subsidence of land along the shore of a lake or other body of water. Flood insurance provides relief following flood damage to communities who participate in the INFIP floodplain management system, covers damages to the building and its contents. Floodplain management maps out areas with high risk of flood so that communities will avoid building in these areas. Fraternal benefit societies or fraternal associations are non-profit, mutual aid organizations that engage primarily in charitable or benevolent activities. They offer their members insurance against death, disease, and disability. Fraud, the act of deceiving an insurance company in order to collect more money than one is legally entitled to. Fraud, deliberately faking or causing an incident in order to collect money. Fraud, soft inflating the gravity or the extent of claims in order to receive a higher indemnification. Full and legal purpose, easy, also legal purpose, one of the 4 qualifications of a legally binding contract. The purpose of the contract must be legal, for example, no contracts for illicit drug deals, good faith, acting honestly and fairly with good intentions and full disclosure. Group risk income protection, crop insurance, a form of crop revenue insurance that protects a whole county or area instead of individual farmers. Automatically indemnifies if county income falls below a certain level.